You know that feeling, right? Staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., completely overwhelmed by what the author Sarah Knight so perfectly calls shitstorms. Yeah, those huge, steaming piles of problems that just seem to land right in your lap. Could be a missed deadline, could be a major life crisis. Well, this explainer is all about her no bullshit guide to navigating all of that. And this quote? Man, this gets right to the heart of it. The book's whole argument is that real power, it doesn't come from trying to stop every bad thing from ever happening. I mean, let's be real, you can't. The real power comes from mastering your reaction when that stuff inevitably goes down. That's the skill we're going to focus on here. So what do you do when those easy answers just aren't cutting it? Hearing, oh, everything's going to be okay is nice and all, but it doesn't actually solve anything, right? Sarah Knight calls this the happy industrial complex. So instead of that fluff, we are going to walk through her super practical, actionable framework for actually taking back control. To really get a handle on the cost of all this worry, Knight introduces this brilliant concept she calls freakout funds. Okay, so think of your time, your energy, and your money like a limited budget, like a bank account. Every single moment you spend panicking, you're making a withdrawal from that account. The whole goal here is to stop wasting those precious funds on worry that goes nowhere and instead start investing them in actually fixing the problem. So that begs the question, right? How are you spending your freakout funds? To figure that out, you first have to diagnose your reaction. Knight calls these the 4 faces of freaking out. Now, as we go through them, I want you to see if you can spot your own go-to response. Be honest. Okay, and the crucial thing to get here is that freaking out isn't just one single thing. It can look like anxiety, that obsessive overthinking that just spirals, or maybe for you it's sadness, which just feels exhausting and paralyzing. It could also be anger, which, let's be honest, usually just makes a bad situation even worse. And then there's the classic, avoidance, sticking your head in the sand while, your metaphorical house burns down around you. And hey, if any of those are ringing a bell for you, you are in very good company. In a survey she did for the book, nearly 40% of people said anxiety was their main reaction. But, and this is the part I love, look at this. Almost a third of people said, I can't pick just one. I do all of them. Sound familiar? It just goes to show how messy and, honestly, how human this whole experience is. You're not alone. Okay, now this is where things get really powerful. Because for every single one of those negative reactions, she says there's a positive, actionable flip side. So instead of that anxious overthinking, you learn to focus. Instead of being sad and totally exhausted, you repair with self-care. Anger, that gets replaced with perspective. And avoidance, well, you learn to act up and just face the problem head on. It's all about flipping the script. Okay, that all sounds great, right? But how do you actually get to those flip sides? Well, the entire method, the whole thing, it all hinges on one simple but incredibly powerful question. Think of this as the ultimate filter for every single worry that pops into your head. That's it. So simple. Can I control it? This one question is the absolute foundation of this entire method. What it does is force you to separate what's actually worth your attention from what is just mental noise. Before you spend even 1 cent from your freakout fund, you have to ask this question. Now, control isn't just a simple yes or no thing. Knight actually breaks it down into 4 different levels. So you've got things you have complete control over, like whether or not you decide to wear pants today. Then there are things that are just under your influence, or maybe you can only make a contribution. And then, of course, there's the big one, things that are completely 100% out of your hands, like the weather or what other people decide to do. And here is the absolute bottom line. Spending any of your time, your energy, or your money on things in that out of your hands category, that is the single biggest drain on your freakout funds, period. The goal is to get really good at identifying those things immediately and just letting them go. So putting this all into practice is really just a simple process of mental decluttering. Knight calls it the NoWorries Method, and it's built on just 2 simple steps. And it is incredibly simple. Step 1. Discard. This is where you use that filter we talked about. Can I control it? If the answer is no, you toss that worry out. This is basically the calm the fuck down part. Then, step 2, organize. For the very few worries that are left over, the ones you actually can control, you create a clear plan of attack. That's the deal with it part. That's it. Discard, then organize. That is the entire method. All right, so the theory is great, but how do you actually use this stuff in your day-to-day life, right? Let's pull it all together now into a really practical toolkit that you can start using, like today. So really, the whole method comes down to this super simple decision tree. It all starts with that one key question. Can I control it? Okay, if the answer is no, your only job is to discard that worry. And you do that by using one of those awesome flip sides we talked about, like shifting your focus or doing some self-care. But if the answer is yes, then you organize your response. And for that, there's one last tool in the box, a strategy called PEW.
So what's PHW? It stands for productive, helpful, effective worrying. This is how you make absolutely sure that your freakout funds are being spent wisely. It's the simple idea that if you're going to worry about something you can control, then you better channel that energy into actual action. Making a plan, doing some research, sending that email you've been putting off. It's basically worrying with a purpose.
So let's make this real for you right now. Just take a second and think about all the things buzzing around in your head at this very moment. Based on everything we just talked about, what is just one worry, one single thing that you can now see is totally out of your control? I want you to go ahead and give yourself permission to just discard it. Let it go. Today.